Hello, it's Josh, aka Spieglass. This is episode 6 of Theory Query. Today we're going to run through Gladly Impressed Beams, which is the lead track off of Dangers, linked below. So there's not much to say in the way of the sort of origin of this song. Really, the only foundation comes from one very simple piano line. So this is the first song I've ever made in B-flat major, and because of that, I kind of wanted to focus on that chord, the root chord B-flat. So this is what I played, just kind of messing around one day, that sparked everything else for the song. So just to briefly go through it, you can see we've got an F here and a B-flat there, which are roots and fifths of B-flat, and I'm kind of rocking back and forth. So I'm holding, you can see the B-flat octave here, I'm holding octaves with the fifth in the middle, common shape, but I'm rocking back and forth between my pinky and right here, and the F is my index finger, and then my thumb when I come up to the higher B-flat. So I'm really just going back and forth, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then some stuff I did to kind of break up the ostinato is, you can see I'm hitting lower B-flat octaves, which was me crossing my right hand over my left. I'm trying to pretend I'm Freddie Mercury or something. And then you can see I kind of give it different sounds by hitting the major third octaves. There's your D, F, and then back down to the B-flat. And then towards the end, I go back and forth crossing. So I hit a higher B-flat, which completes a higher octave, and then I come down for the lower. So I just go back and forth. So let me run through just a few of those sounds right here. So that whole bit was what really launched the idea behind this song. One other little fun thing I'll show you before we move on from the piano is the way it starts. So this was another first for me. Not only was it the first song I ever made in B-flat, this is the first song where I do this little run up the keyboard in this fashion. And so I've done it several times since. And what it is G and D right here. So this is root and fifth, which is how I typically do it. So my left hand does this G and D, while my right hand is up an octave doing G and D. But you can see it repeats right here. Well, what I'm doing is I go left and then the right, but then I move both hands up an octave. So when my right hand is doing the second one, my left hand comes up to it and does it again for a third GD, while my right hand goes up an octave as well, and now I'm up to the higher GD. And then I have a passing note, and then I finish with my right hand G, D, G octaves in the fifth. So my left hand only moves once and just kind of repeats. So that's a left hand, that's a left hand, and that's my left thumb again, while the right hand continues upward. And I also end with it right here. So that's a fun little thing I just kind of wanted to highlight. So while that's going on, I have this ensemble patch. And you can see it's basically the same. Obviously the structure is the same, but I play it a little different. So if you look at this highlighted area, you can see I took out some of these Fs, and I added some lower B-flats with the mid B-flat here, just because I wanted to get that cello activated and get that low end going. So here's how the ensemble sounds on its own. So pretty much the same. It's just took out some notes because I wanted it to be an accompaniment and not a straight copy. And then with the piano, so I thought that made it a little more interesting. I also have like some strings going here, which I'll play, but not by themselves, because one thing I need to highlight, and we'll be coming back to, is this solo cello line. So this cello, if you look at the notes it's corresponding to, I'm kind of doing the same thing, again, highlighting the B flat. So I start on F, do a passing note to the D, then I do passing notes to the A, which is the 7th, but then I immediately just go F again, B flat again. Minus the glitch, that sounded good. And that's really the crux of the song there. It's a little up-tempo, very upbeat sounding intro. In fact, that's why it's called Gladly Impressed Beams. It's from Paradise Lost, because I'm super literary. And he's talking about, I think it's book 4, the Garden of Eden. He's describing it, and he says, on which the sun more glad impressed its beams. And so when I was listening to that section, it just super evoked it for me. It just sounds like sun shining on you. Love that. So now we get into the more hybrid section, which is when I start adding all the ambient stuff. So there's my orchestral bit. Now we're getting into the ambient type stuff. And you can see all these green ones, 1, 2, 3, 4. I highlight green for like pads and synths. So just to show you what's going on to kind of complete everything. This pad is just a patch from the Oliver Arnold's Composer Toolkit by Spitfire. That's all that is, just to give it a bed. Then the next thing is a very common technique. I'm not sure I've actually gone over this in a video yet. So you can see I've got the felt piano from the toolkit as well, and I've got this mic activated, which is, I think SP stands for space, because it really just sounds like a lot more air and very deep, like hall reverbery sound. But you can see I don't have the reverb up high because it kind of washes out the attack, and I did not want that. I just wanted the piano, which is this little thing. So you can already hear there's some air in there and some reverb. So one technique I do is I copy it to another patch. But you can see I've got the main mix deactivated and it's only the space. And then I've maxed pretty much the onboard reverb. And so this is what that sounds like. I'll play the same part. So it's just all reverb and all air, and so those together now. You can see how long this tail's lasting. Really nice. So that's a technique I use a lot to add very spacey reverb without directly impacting the attack of the patch I'm playing on. So, going back to this cello line, I basically double it up here, so I get somewhat of a motif going by just repeating that bit, except I add in some Oliver Arnold's chamber evolutions with it this time. Just makes it sound like a fuller thing, maybe like a quartet or something. And you can see I'm only highlighting the long notes from that line. So I've got an F, threw in an A just to brighten it, you know, raise it up an octave, or not an octave, but just raising the notes. Then I have D and F, so I'm making a minor D there. And then I've got A and F. And so really it's kind of an accompaniment in a sense. So if you're looking, for example, at this note here, that is an A, and while that's playing, I've got an A. But if I come up here, I've got just the D, while here it's D and F. So I'm creating dyads there and trying to not just play exact with it. So that's a technique I frequently use too. Sometimes I'll play a root with one type of stringed instrument, and I'll play the third with another one. Sometimes I'll mix and match like that. So that's a common technique I use. And then some more of this synthy stuff. So this one, for example, is actually just a contact synth. And you can see I just have a few notes spread out. It's got this nice reverse sounding short synth piece. So like in episode 5 of Theory Query, I talk about adding small bits of like dreamy, high-end, like high notes, and I just call them sparkles, and that's just a way to kind of add more stuff into it. So if I were to run through everything together with those notes I just played. Has some extremely lightly played strings on top of it, and that's kind of the bulk of this middle section. And then the third, you can see I really start to put everything together. So going to the piano real quick, zoom out of that, you can see I'm kind of doing the same thing with like a 1-2 type of rocking back and forth, although the pattern's a little different. So here I'm hitting the D and B flat. So now I'm doing the major dyad, and then you see I'm bringing in the F right here and playing some other bits. So like here I go back and forth with the root and A, the 7th again. So that pattern goes like this. So that's kind of the crux of that. I just do some sort of improvised flourishes like that B flat A quad right there. And then I revisit for the third time that cello line that I went back to. Here I put it higher notes with some woodwinds. So with the piano. Very nice. So to look at some of the pad stuff I do, you could see I copied the piano patch to that felt piano reverb. So just a way to create more space in it. And then I also add this pad here, and you see I call it motion pad. And it's another just contact synth, but it has some movement. So there's actually a lot of movement in here, but it's all subtle. So this is that pad. So if I were to like add back in that reverse sounding one, here's how they sound together. add in the pad here. So lots of subtle movement. And then I get some more orchestral stuff. This is a glockenspiel, and this is a harp. And I'm kind of just using this again as an accompaniment, so here's how those sound together. So I kind of do this, and I'll bring in the piano here too, solo that out. It's just to add something in between some of the improvised bits on the piano. So you can hear there's a little bit of call and response type stuff going on with that quad of B flat and A. So that's fun. Another little thing I bring in is this guitar patch. It's just like a tremolo picking bit. Just adding more air. There's a lot of reverb and motion on that as well. And that's kind of the bulk of it. It just kind of has all of this motion, synth, and pad stuff. I add these little flourishes to add some more interest to it. So I'll just play about 20-30 seconds of that to play you out. And then you can check out the whole song. It's always linked below with Spotify, Instagram, and Bandcamp. That should wrap up this video. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all the good stuff. Thanks for watching.